And we're on time. Welcome to the midday session about extending the business, a session somewhat separate from the regular program, I would say, where it's not about technical nitty-gritty so much, but about trying to support business workflow in customers, clients, research, and what have you. Three interesting sessions, I would say. First one from Giancarlo Faustino on challenges of management integration and scope expansion of an NREN service desk. If you're ready for it, Giancarlo, I'd like to invite you to step forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Guido. Good afternoon. I'm very glad to be here. As Guido told, my name is Giancarlo Faustino. I'm from Brazilian NREN, RNP. Francisco Jr. is the co-author of this presentation, and the title is The Challenge of Management, Integration and Scope Expansion of NREN Service Desk, the RNP case. Could you listen good, everybody? Okay. So this is the agenda of our presentation. First of all, an introduction, and after this, our service desk overview, or the structure of our service desk. The service desk in numbers, or the results of the service desk that we're building, and the service desk milestone, the milestone of our brief history. So let's start with introduction. Spoke about the creation of RNP, the Brazilian NREN. Brazilian NREN was created in 1989, and 20 years after this, we created the service desk. It corresponds to creation of a specific directory dedicated to the services, called Directory of Services Management. This corresponds a new emphasis of our institution to offer services, specific services to our customers. Of course, the Brazilian NREN has other kind of services. For example, services of security, services of connectivity. But in those years, we created this new director of service management with the responsibility to manage what we call of advanced services. What it's mean? It's correspondingly to the categories of communication and collaboration, for example, video conference, web conference, and digital content, identity management as federation, strategic roasting, and support for academic network. And to support all these services, we created the service desk. So until 2014, this is the main instructor in our directory to manage the advanced server. We have two service managers, and one of these service management has the responsibility to manage the service desk also. I'm sorry. Okay, one of these service manager was Leandro Guimarães, that is here, and the other service manager was me. Hi. After this year, or the last of the end of the last year, we had a little change in this structure with a dedicated manager to manage the service desk. This dedicated manager was Francisco Jr., the new king of the service desk, or in the serious and formal photo, this Francisco. Okay, we covered the timeline of history. We created the service desk in 2009. In 2010, we had what we called consolidated service desk. In 2014, we created a new project called Integration Project, and a second project called Expansion. And this project that started in the last year is running in this time. We'll see in details. But let me talk about what does mean the consolidated service desk. Consolidated service desk we understood in the team of service desk supported all our advanced servers. It's mean the consolidated service desk. And the integration project is the same scenarios, in addition with the internal system requires and internal ICT requires. And what about the expansion project? It's the same scenarios, the same previous scenarios, in addition with connectivity requests and security requests. So this is the main milestone of our briefly history. I will speak more in details during this presentation, but before this, I would like to show you our structure, or the service desk in overview. The speed is okay too. I'm very fast, very slow is okay. Could follow. So this is our backbone. The backbone building to trying to reach all the states or all the areas of our country that has over 8.5 million kilometers squares. And to help us to reach each state, we have what we call it points of presence, POPs, points of presence. We had each POPs in each state to reach all the customers, all the institutions that we had in each state. So the result of this is more than 1,000 campuses, or more than 1,000 institutions, and it corresponds to 3.5 million users. And to attend or to support these users in institution, we built a service desk with 6 people. Oh, what's the and this is the scenarios until the end of 2014. That was when we wrote this proposal that I show you here. Okay, but how is possible to create this structure to attend this number of users and institutions with this little group of support? First of all, this group or the service desk didn't attend or didn't support all kinds of problems, but just the advanced servers. The advanced servers that now we had 14. So, and between the service desk and the users of the institution, we had the institutions, and the institutions that had local support. This is very important because the local support attend the local users that belong to each institutions, and users that has requests related with the many different things and local problems, and requests related with our advanced servers. So the local support could resolve some kinds or some numbers of these demands or requests. The group of the requests that local support can't resolve, they transfer to our service desk. And the service desk attends more than 77% of requests or of tickets. The rest of tickets, the service desk transfers to a specialist team in RNP, and this specialist team receives requests from service desk and other kinds of local requests, of course. So this is the, in general, this is our structure that we build to attend our customers and clients. The service desk with 6 positions until the end of the last year work every day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the specialist team from Monday to Friday from a.m. to 6 p.m. So this is our structure in general of our service desk. And the question is, but the result was good? What's the number of the service desk? I have some graphs to show this number to you. The first graph is this with the number of tickets open per month. Of course, you can see descendant lines. It's corresponding to vacation periods on academic calendar. And in an average of over 500 number of tickets opened per month. Other important graph is this about the response time in minutes. We have an average of 8 minutes in the response time. And about the resolution time, in the resolution time in the first level of support is always less than 1 hour, as you can see in this graph. And in the next graph is very important because it shows the number of tickets resolved by service desk versus the specialist team. In the blue line, you can see the number of tickets resolved by service desk, and the red line, the resolved by specialist team. And this graph is the same graph, but in percent numbers. So you can see the percent resolved by service desk and specialist team, but in percent. In the same form, blue line resolved by service desk and red line resolved by specialist team. And in the first level of support, we has always above 77%. The last graph that I show you is about the customer satisfaction. In the blue line is the percent of customer satisfaction, and in red line, we have the percent of satisfaction survey, or the percent of customers that answer the question of, or the answer of the satisfaction survey. The customer satisfaction average is 97%, and the percent of customers that answered the survey is an average of 7%. So we understand that this result or this number is good, but the question is, this is good for us or in related with other kinds of institution in Brazil or in Latin America, in America is good. So to try to answer this question, we find an institution called AGI. It's an institution dedicated specifically to recorders and build benchmarking with this specific kinds of work in service desk. So I show you three indicators related with the graphs that I show you here. And in the first indicator, resolution time average, what's the benchmarking for AGA? Between 30 and 120 minutes, and our indicator is 8 minutes. So good numbers, good results. The customer satisfaction, the benchmarking is 85 to 95%, and our result is 97%, so better than benchmark. And the last indicator is satisfaction survey rates. The benchmark is 7%, and our number is 7% also. So, in general, our results, our numbers are good. So, the last point, the milestone of our brief history. This slide is familiar to you in this moment of the presentation. It shows the date of the creation of Service Desk, consolidated, and the other projects. We see again in details. For example, consolidated. I read told that this corresponds to Service Desk support all advanced servers. When we created the Service Desk, it's corresponding to 8 advanced servers that you can see here. But in the last year, it corresponds to 14 advanced servers. And in the red, they correspond to new service that we created during this time. Integration project, I told that, or I said, I'm sorry, that it's corresponding to previous scenarios add on in addition with the internal systems requests and internal ICT requests. What it means exactly? Internal systems, we speak about institutional websites, events website, human research website. And what about international ICT? It corresponds to wiki system, email systems, corporative computers, etc. Okay, when I speak about expansion project, I spoke. It's the previous scenarios. In addition, with connectivity requests and security requests. What it means? Connectivity is when a client institution has a problem in a connectivity in the layer 2 or in layer 3, more specifically. And in security request is when a security issue is detected in a client institution. What exactly is its mean? The project of expansion. So consequently, in the expansion of the scope of Service Desk, required expansion of the people. So in nowadays, we don't have more 6 people, but 9 people work in a Service Desk team, plus a coordinator and a manager. Okay? And the people, the customers and the users could call us all the day, all the time, exactly 24 hours by 7 days, and toll-free, in addition of other kinds, other manners to open tickets. So this is a photo of our team, a partial team, because there's some positions, some people working during the night, but this is a photo partial of our team, and finally we covered our milestone. The last word that I want to see is all is running. The expansion and integration project was started, but is running. We will implement this project during this year and possible in the next year. And the consolidated service desk is running also because during each year or during each new year, we will create new services. So the consolidated service desk has the plan to to add on. So the message is we are running, we are walking, we are keep walking, or more fastly than this, we are skywalking, maybe. Okay, so that's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. That gives us plenty of time for some questions from the audience. I'm assuming we're using a running microphone or a walking. I don't want to speed you up too much. There you go.
Thank you. Olav Isak Sjøflot from Uninet in Norway. I was just curious, where do you draw the line between what the ICT department on the university, on the campus, is doing and what the...
Could you speak up a little bit?
Speak up a little more? Okay, sorry. Where do you draw the line between what the ICT department on the campuses and on the universities do and what you do for them? Is it based on service type, or is it based on proximity to the users?
Okay, I'm not sure if I understood the question, but the question is, we attend the end users or the institutions, correctly?
In Norway, we could have an issue if we try to do the work of the ICT department in the university. They like to keep us on the outside and they are on the inside, so to speak.
What he's asking is, when do you escalate? So an end user has a problem on campus.
Yeah.
First, they need to talk to the people on campus. Then the campus needs to escalate it. Usually, that's how it goes. And he's asking, like, where do you draw the line? When do you escalate? Where do you, and is this dependent on what service gets escalated, or what sort of end user gets escalated, or what time, or do you have any rules here?
Yes,
Because it's a hard question, right?
Yeah,
we find it pretty hard as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's clearly a good question, because he's...
Yes, thank you for your question. Most of our services, we work with the idea that we can try remotely. For example, video conference. Our services of video conference is like a MCU, multi-point control unit. So the local equipment of video conference is not the services. It's the requirements to access our services. So the responsibility to management, the local equipment is a responsibility of the institution, and it's not corresponding to our services. It's a require to our services. So the local support usually management the local equipment that's required to access our services. In general, this is the idea.
Is that a sufficient answer to your question? Well, there is. I mean, obviously, the silver bullet doesn't exist, but everybody's trying. Do I sense another question popping up?
Hi, Darren Clark from the Joint Operations Centre. Could you give us an idea of the sort of problems that you deal with day to day, and also what you class as resolution?
So the sort of problems you deal with day to day, I guess it's pretty obvious. And when do you decide, when can your NOC or your help desk, when can they decide that something has been resolved? Does the end user have to say, yes, that's a sufficient solution, or does it go down the chain again, or is that again, one of those?
Okay. Yes, not an easy question, because we have different moments of service desk with advanced servers and connectivity and security. So we have a consolidated situation here. I could answer about this consolidated situation, and other kinds of related to expansion and integration projects that the answer is building right now. So what I can speak about the consolidated service desk, consolidated situation is The problems that could be resolved by the local support or the support from the institutions is related with the requirements to institutions use the service desk, or use our services. For example, in the video conference, for example, that I told, one problem that the local support could resolve is probably related with the equipments, with the access to the room, how can I turn on the equipment, or how I could call video conference. And the problem that relates with us is when the local support could have this information. What's the number of the gatekeeper that I call? So the local support call the service desk and give this information, or trying to get access and don't have success. So it means probably one problem in the infrastructure, for example.
If you're handing off to your specialist teams, do you have different resolution times for when you hand it off, or do you class one resolution time when it's actually finished? So when your specialist team has actually done whatever work they need to do?
Yes, if I understood, the specialist team started work when the service desk could resolve, or more specific, when the service desk didn't have the procedures. Because the service desk is our first team, the team that resolved the first level of support, they only can resolve the problems if they has a procedure. Okay, I receive a problem, I will find a respective procedure. If I can find, okay. If I couldn't find, I will transfer to a specialist team. Or when to resolve the problem, need, for example, the administrator password. So this is related with management, the infrastructure. That's the responsibility of a specialist team.
Time for one last question. There is something what's hard, at least within ARNet, YNREN, is to support the NOC people or the help desk people in finding resolutions. You have to give them interfaces and monitoring tools that make available to them at any point in time, particularly during 24-hour service, what's going on, because otherwise they have to pick up the phone with experts all the time. How much of that abstraction do you do? Traditionally, a lot of NRENs have done this for lower layers in the network, but the upper stuff with services, that service abstraction tends to be hard. Are you far down that road? Have you done a lot of that sort of dashboarding for them?
Yes. Yes, it is not an easy question. I think I think that is the question that we are interested in create a conversation, because when we wrote this proposition, we couldn't find history about the service desk in other NRENs. So we don't know about your reality, and we have interest too. Okay, but I could give the answer. Complete answer right now, but I have interest in create a conversation. But what I can answer exactly now, we have the interest in create procedures and show these procedures to end users, and with videos that explain, how can I get the information about the monitoring, of the local installations to access the services. So we invested in this kind of information to the end users with the procedures, with the videos, explain how can access with the system to monitoring and other kinds of systems. But I don't have a
Completely understood.
complete
Can
answer.
could you join me in thanking the speaker for the speech and for surviving these curveballs? Very well done. Very well done. All right. Next speaker up is Maurice van den Akker with SurfNet, who is going to talk to us about, realistically, what is WAS. It's a beautiful name for it. Wi-Fi as an end-to-end service. Maurice is quite qualified to talk about this as I believe, product manager for mobile and wireless and a project manager for Eduroam.
Yeah, something like that.
Clearly you like pain. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Oh, already had some water for me. Thanks. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the cool service we are developing. WAS, as Guido already told, I had to look up how to pronounce that in English, double A, but aardvark you have, and so WAS would be the nice pronunciation of that as well, I hope. But Wi-Fi as a service, and well, it's a cool service, as I said, but also it's a complex service, especially in the light of the talk we saw just a few minutes ago, if you talk about the support processes. So, in my talk, I want to talk a little bit about the drivers for WAS, from users' perspective, from technology perspective, and from outsourcing perspective. Show you a little bit of the business model for WAS. So, if you are from NRN, perhaps it's something you would like to do as well. How many are from NRNs here in this audience? And how many are considering something like WAS? Yeah, okay, but if they consider it, then they would be. Okay. But perhaps the story will interest you furthermore. Except for the business model, I want to show you a little bit of the key features. We thought a SurfNet would be great in our service, but we also tested that in practice already. We had a proof of concept, and I can show you a little bit what we learned from that. Actually, at this moment, we are running a tender. It is a little bit behind of schedule, so I was hoping when I was standing here to give you the results, but a little bit too early for that. But I can take you, as much as I can in the results until now. So start with the drivers of WAS. The users, if you look at them, of course you already know them all, the people who really want to be on their mobile 24/7, even when they sleep, yes. And you see that the primary device they are using is starting to become more and more the tablet and the smartphone instead of the laptop. But also, in the near future, all the services which are on the campuses will be Wi-Fi enabled. So that means if you talk about phones, projectors, or something for a conference room, they will all be connected by Wi-Fi, or for at least 40% will be. So there are really growing expectations of what Wi-Fi can do in the campuses. And also if you see here a graph, what will be happening with voice over Wi-Fi, you will see that that's growing as well. But that's nothing new for you, of course. You already know that. Our institutes actually see this as well, and they, well, find, okay, there's really a growing dependency of Wi-Fi, but it's not really our core business. The Wi-Fi needs to be excellent, but yeah, we have problems with getting the right personnel. We have problems to have a good procurement for it. We have problems to think about it in the future. SurfNet, please, can you do something about it? Can you help us with that? And if you cannot, we think of some other outsourcing strategy. So we had a survey to check whether the institutes are interested in something like Wi-Fi as a service from SurfNet in the next 2 years. And the result was quite surprising to us that more than 50% of our customers already said, okay, we are very interested, or at least interested to have such a service from SurfNet. So that gave us a drive to push this forward. Also the technology, in SurfNet we are of course fond of technology. If you see that the Wi-Fi equipment is more and more scalable, you can do centralized management for Wi-Fi and have more than 10,000 access points controlled by one environment. Yeah, that really means something. You really can take it up another level. Also, if we look at our fixed network, the capacity which is needed for this kind of services is demanding as well. You need a good backbone, especially if you see that Wi-Fi will get up to speeds 1 gigabit, 10 gigabits in a few years. So you really need to think about the backbone as well. Integration with other mobile technology like 3G, 4G and 5G, that will be something up in the near future. And yeah, we really want to have something to do with that as well. Also, free space, white space, some spectrum, some radio spectrum is available for communicating, and we really want to see what we can do with that, because all our institutes, all our users, they have a strong demand for frequency now, and that will only grow fast in the near future. So super Wi-Fi, that's the answer to it all, and that's, well, our opportunity to see if we can build something like that. If we look at our first ideas how such a service would look like, you see it here depicted. Well, not really sharp, but on the top level it is like the management infrastructure. In the center there is just the normal IP connectivity, and in the bottom there's all the institutes, each having their own local area network, and we can connect to that the Wi-Fi access points. And via their own local area network, dependent on the exact architecture we choose, or which will be chosen by the tender, the traffic will flow through to the central controllers and then to the internet, or there could be a local breakout. So that's just in a short story how the architecture would be. Just access points, the local area network of the institute, and then dependent on what we choose might be traffic just local or traffic centralized controlled. Well, if we do such a thing, that means that we share the central management among more institutes, we share the Wi-Fi personnel, we share the support structure. And what we also do is we aggregate the demand for Wi-Fi, not one institute for itself, all the institutes together. So we can do a European procedure for that, a tender procedure from SurfNet centrally, and the other institutes don't have to worry about that as well. We can share IP pools, we can use existing assets like the backbone network and the local area network. So really cost savings if you think about that. There are two drawbacks, and the first one is that the institutes really want to have local policies applied as well. So that's something, okay, we want to share everything, but we want local policies. And the other thing is, we want the users say, we want access to our own resources. Like we have a database on the campus, or we have printers on the campus, and we want to have access to those printers as well. So that are two things that can make it a little bit hard. Okay, so we have seen these drivers, and we have seen a little bit how this would look like. But as an NRN, would you be involved in this kind of things? That's the question we at SurfNet had to think about really hard. And we made several ideas and schedules, but this is the one we ended up with eventually. So the first question you have to ask yourself on the left-hand side, does the NRN believe that investment in wireless are necessary for ICT innovation? And if you think, nah, not really, then you go down in the line and you only have to ask yourself if you really want to do something with wireless temporary, because it's a little bit a trend right now. If you say, I don't follow trends as an NRN and I'm not interested in wireless to invest, you end up with ambition 1, which I call minimalistic, eduroam only. And that's nice, you can do the things you do right now, but it's a dead end. If you do that, something else will pop up, a little bit better than eduroam, a little bit with 5G or whatever comes up, and you will, well, no innovation, you will stop having, providing a service of that. My water attacks me. However, if you want to do something transmatic in this area, you come to Ambition 2, and you will be a temporary supporter. And you provide some procurement, you will do some innovation, and, well, try to be a little bit of the help of the institutes. But they wouldn't like it in the end, because they still have to think about everything. They still have to be involved with everything. You help them, but they still have to be aware of every task there is. So that would end up with a dislike for the NRN. So we go up the chain, and if we say, okay, we think it is worth to invest in wireless, but we are willing to do something on the campus as well, but we don't want to be an innovator, you end up with Ambition 3, which is a shared wireless service center. So that's a little bit different than we are used to, innovative and provide some service, but yeah, well, innovation is the most important. But we provide the wireless for the institutes. That's nice, but you have to think, because the people at the institutes, they will be obsolete. The people who do the day-to-day wireless management will not be used there anymore. However, on the SurfNet side, we need those people there as well. If you want to be an innovator as well, that's also very nice. You have to, a little bit of caution that you won't do things that nobody asks for, but okay, that's something we already are very used to. But that's the Ambition 4 we had. So for us, for SurfNet, we thought, okay, we really want to go to Ambition 3, and perhaps we grow to Ambition 4 as well, because it's in our genes to do innovation. So we probably end up with 4. And we have to think about the geek alert, of course. So what would such a service then look like? And now we have to do more in detail. First, we want to be a provider not of just another Wi-Fi service, but it has to be state-of-the-art. It must be scalable, must be efficient, and of course, maintaining those local policies I just talked about. And we have to keep it simple, especially for the support. This implies excellent Wi-Fi network, excellent coverage, excellent latency, not excellent latency, that's not the right term, sorry. Excellent capacity, so that means high speed, low latency. Must be innovative, new features, new standards should be available quickly. Of course, very important, reliability. It's nothing to do with innovative, must be reliable. Monitoring must be excellent, and radio management must be excellent. And this is the thing a lot of institutes tend to forget. Radio management, we hang up those boxes there. If it doesn't work, we hang up a few more boxes. No, that's not the way to do it. Radio management, very important. Of course, ADROAM should be the primary SSID here, the primary service, but also 802.11ac, the fast standard for Wi-Fi. We want roaming, we want IPv6. For college rooms, we need high density. We want the service to deliver real-time voice, real-time video, and also location-based services. Roaming, as I said. And there must be a great first-line support at the institutes. If we want to change something, if the institutes want to change something, there shouldn't be a lot of red wire. It should be easy to do so. Security and privacy, of course, must be major, on a major level. And we want our guest access system, ADROAM visitor access, as well enabled on this service. So that's, well, kind of requirements we listed here. So that makes it also a little bit more expensive than the institutes are used to it. But they have to choose for an excellent Wi-Fi service from us, or do it themselves on a more cheaper way. But that's not the way we want to go. We want them to get involved in an excellent Wi-Fi network. So how would this look like if we deliver this? Well, here's SurfNet in this picture. And we want to deliver BaaS to the institutes, but we can't do that by ourselves. We are with a few people in the mobile team, and it's too much if we would support 180 institutes. We don't want to support 180 institutes, but perhaps half of it. But it's still a lot. So we need another company, which we call an innovation partner. And this innovation partner can do the 24/7 monitoring of the network. Of course, except for this innovation party, we also need equipment, and here comes the vendor, which can deliver us the Wi-Fi access points and the controller infrastructure. So that's not a very hard delivery model. But the business case is the other way around. We have institutes, and there are working a few people at the institutes, which you don't need. And they save a little bit money for that. But they pay hardware, they pay for maintenance, they pay for procurement, and they pay for managing the network. But if they don't do it by themselves, they would, provide this money to ServNet. ServNet can do this procurement and management, but hardware and maintenance, it should be transferred, this money should be transferred to the wireless operating center. And of course, the hardware cost must be transferred to the vendor. So in the end, the business case isn't very complex. It's just, the institutes already pay for their Wi-Fi, and they just, put a little bit to ServNet, which a little bit puts to the operating center and the vendor in the end. The price model we think of is just very easy. It should be paid per access point. That is what the market is asking right now. So we want institutes to pay a monthly fee for each access point installed. And that's it. No first-time cost, no other cost. This is the model. So very easy to step in, very easy to expand. That's the idea. And if you are good, if you do something with innovation, perhaps there's some subsidy for us as well to get more and more excellent within this Wi-Fi network. That would be great. Business case is very easy, but the delivery chain and the demarcation points, they aren't very easy. And this is a part of a table we used in our tender document. And you see here the architecture, the intake, the rollout plan, configuration, support, local client support, problem management, monitoring the LAN on the institute, network services and change management. All those things need to be really appointed to a party who is responsible for that. So we chose in our tender to take responsibility as ServNet for the intake of new customers and major changes. We want to do the product management, and we want to be accountable for really big problems. Not that we have to solve it, but we have to be in the lead for that. And of course, the procurement is something we want to do. So that comes back and forth every 4 to 6 years. And our backbone, of course, that's the thing we deliver for transferring the data in the end. The wireless operating center must be day-to-day monitoring, must do day-to-day support, a site survey, radio planning and delivery of hardware, and also deliver second-line support. And the most important is that the first-line support is still at the institutes, because they have really bands with the end user, with the users. So that means that if we would have no local support at the institutes, we would really end up with problems. So we want them to register the first problem, little bit help if it concerns the client, and then if there's some other problem, it can go to second line support, the wireless operating center. But also, if the access points need to be mounted on the ceilings or wherever they want to have them, they must do it themselves. We thought about, wireless as a service, we also screw all those access points ourselves, but the Institute says, no, don't do that, because we have already our own way of doing this kind of things. We have our own people, we have our own external party who does all the internal outlet works. So please let us do that. So that's a little bit of the delivery chain choices we already made. Already said before, support should be kept simple. So the way, that's a little bit what you already discussed about it half an hour ago, is that the users should contact the first line support at institutes, and if they cannot change it, and if they cannot help it, then they should call to our 24/7 help desk at ServNet, which is nothing more than a register function. And this register function will call the innovation partner if it's something which they can deal with, and they will provide support. So the innovation partner here isn't the party who will get called by all the customers, all the clients, all the users. That's only a few people at the institutes can call ServNet help desk, and they will call this party. So that saves a lot of money for customer support as well. So as said, we tried something in practice as well. We had a pilot last year, and it's even running this year. And we had 3 different types of pilot. The first one, we replaced old equipment in an existing environment. The second one was our own serve office, which was operational per January 1st this year. And it was really greenfield, because the office was totally empty. And the last one in Maastricht, you probably remember that with TNC a few years ago. There were student campus residents, and there is already good access points are already installed, and we just connect them to the centralized management infrastructure. So that's the 3 different options we had: greenfield, replacement, and using the existing equipment. And the goals of our test here were to see if this would work. Could we do it in technical sense? And the other is to gain experience with this support processes as ServNet, as a ServNet company. We did it together with Imtech ICT, now it's called Axians, and Cisco equipment. And the results are that we tend to fill in the need of the institutes, but there are some architectural constraints, and that's a combination of multiple domains, local breakout, maximum number of APs, and IPv6. That kind of things we really want to make it excellent, makes it also hard to implement. So that's what we need to have a strong focus on. The responsibilities, as you might expect, were unclear in the pilot, so we have to make these demarcation points really more clearer when we start a service. Documentation, a lack of it, yeah, that's our bad always. So again here too, but something we have to do better in the real VAS. So communicating, that's in the end, yeah, the most important. Stay communicating between the wireless operations center, between the customer, between ServNet and the end user. That's the most important. So how will this POC, proof of concept, become a service? We prepared the procurements already since January 2014, so 1.5 years ago. So it took us a little long time to get where we are standing right now. We involved 2 mid-sized launching customers, a School of Applied Science and an MBO, which I don't know the word in English for. But it are schools with a lot of locations, about 1,200 access points per institute, that kind of size. We chose to have only greenfield. We don't do existing equipment, we don't do, of course we do replacement. But it's not that we are going to control existing equipment at the institute. So if they want to join VAS, we replace all of the infrastructure in a building. But they can do it building per building. They don't need to do all their buildings at once, just one building will be enough to start with. So that gives them the possibility to gradually start with VAS. Well, the tender started Q4 last year. We had the competitive dialogue procedure, but it was very nice. We could talk with the 5 parties which remained, and we had a really good feeling that they could offer what we wanted to do here. But yeah, well, as I said, I cannot tell you anything about the end of it, because we have to wait 1 more month. July 15, we will get the offers, and then we will see if this is really going to work. So, well, that's a suspense for me, and I hope to tell you more about that soon. And of course, when it's going off, 2016 will be operational. It will be an operational service for our customers. We will try to maintain the growth and start road mapping, that kind of things. So really make it a service in 2016. And in 2020, we will need to do a new procurement and see whether this procurement can take the local, the status it has then and then the new status together. So that must be a combined result. They need to maintain what is already there, and they need to be able to maintain what will be purchased after 2020. So we thought about this exit process as well. Just in time.
Well done, and thank you very much. Any questions? Yes. Oh dear, you're going to get a barrage, I think.
Curveballs.
I'm Bill with Internet too. Are you offering any SLAs for availability and incident management when you do this managed services for WAS?
Sorry, am I offering the SLA for?
Yeah, for incident and availability of the wireless services.
Yes, yes. We call it a service level specification from SurfNet to the institutes, but between the wireless operating center, the innovation partner and SurfNet, we want to have an SLA for that. And we try, and that's really a bit hard because it's radio technology, we try to give it our best shot in what can be guaranteed and not. So.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you had sort of 30+% of your institutions being interested in this. Have you calculated how much money is being saved if those 30+ actually use the service? And if possible, not just the total number, but the savings per institution?
Well, the savings per institution are hopefully zero, because we want to provide them with a better service for the same price. So that's why we try to build innovation and also an excellent Wi-Fi network for the same costs as they would do for the money they spend now. But most institutes, they started the Wi-Fi 6 till 8 years ago, and they didn't think about, now they think about renewing, but they didn't have the idea to make it an excellent something. It was always something to have together with the fixed network, and it's nice to have thing. But I want to encourage them to, keep investing in infrastructure. That's what the message should be. And yes, we have calculated if we have 20-30% of our institutes connected to Wi-Fi and all the investments that need to be done. And also that will be, we are not sure yet if we are going to lease it or if we're going to buy it with some kind of loan from a bank or whatever. But it will have some implication on our balance sheet, and the money, the turnover, for example, will probably double if we look at the turnover sheets from SurfNet right now. Is that the answer to your question?
Well, I would have loved to have a number.
A number for what?
What volume are you thinking about?
Ah, okay.
So if somebody is in university, in the end, he has a better service, and he would like to save money.
Mm-hmm.
What is the potential for actually saving money? Why would he want to give something out if these people have their own people that run the infrastructures? So you give it out because either you have a better functionality or a better service, or you give it out because you save money. So you want to know before you give it out, how much money are you saving?
Short answer, please, and I know that's impossible, but...
No, I can answer it very shortly.
Oh, there we go.
I cannot communicate about it until the tender is over.
Throwing curveballs right back. Thank the speaker again. That's the way to do it. I'm just quietly waiting for the technicians to change over the slides. There we are, yes. I could probably do this, but I guess I'm not allowed. Perfect, thank you so much. All right, for the closing session of today, we'll be bringing two speakers in from the illustrious Géant organization, Vincenzo and Maria Minarikova, right? I'm always intimidated by those names. Vincenzo Capone and Maria Minarikova from the business development team of Géant, which I believe is a relatively recent development within the Géant organization, where you guys have started, where the Géant organization has started actively consulting with large and mid-scale science projects to come to a better consulted solution for big science. This talk is exactly about that, called Bringing Scientific Communities Together. I believe the order of speakers is Vincenzo first, Maria next. Can I invite you to the stage, please?
Good morning, thank you. We're going to talk now very briefly about Géant, because it is something that we probably are pretty familiar with, especially in the last 2 days. Then we will explain what is the so-called one-stop shop concept, and we will give you a couple of use cases of how this concept has worked for two of our user groups. This is about what is Géant, and this is some numbers, but the numbers that I would like you to notice is the fact that we currently, the Géant community, which means the Géant backbone plus the NRENs, serves around 50 million of users over 10,000 institutions Europe-wide. And we do this by providing a number of services, which is not just the raw network connectivity or the more added value services on the network, but also we have services that are like EduRoam, which you probably are happily using in these days here. We have trust and security AAI service with EduGain, cloud services, and other stuff that usually helps the end users, the end sites, to have added value services out of the network connectivity altogether. But I would like to focus on the one-stop shop, which is the new services that we are trying to provide to the user community on an international level. This is a non-complete list of the science user groups that we liaise with currently. We have the usual suspect, the physics science, the radio astronomy, the Earth observation science. We have new communities that are actually emerging on the usage of the network and computing infrastructure, which is life science. And we have the more and more important liaison with the other infrastructures in Europe. And we have the future internet projects, for example, which we have a long-standing collaboration in place. So let's put us in the shoes of a collaboration which is made by two different sides. What is their perception of what they see? Basically, we have two places, two institutions in two different countries. So they connect to two different NRENs. They could have different services. Somehow, in some cases, the services are not the same. They don't have a common services for what they for their purposes. They have different terms and conditions, different service level. It's hard for them to work on a common business model. Now imagine 30 users in 30 countries. This is what happens. So we came with this idea of this one-stop shop concept, which is basically to have a single place where the international community can look to and communicate with to serve their own needs. We have, of course, since Giant is a transit network, we don't directly connect the users. We connect other networks. So we have to take care of the administrative boundaries of the NRENs. And that's why you see that we have some cross on the lower part of this graph we have tried to sketch. But what we try to do is to build this blue area, which is basically the scope of the collaboration that we want to, of the collaboration services and coordination function that we want to deliver to the users, which is basically covers all the area, which is the Giant backbone and the NREN backbone, up to the demarcation level of the user access. We try to help as much as we can, also for more complicated and complex activities, which could be service procurement and deployment, or monitoring, troubleshooting, and in some cases also project management. So let's see how we try to do this. What are the tools or soft tools in this case? First is communication, of course. We, as a team, as business development, we try to have key individuals within the user community that we try to deal with. And we also have the support of the partner relations team, which is the other half of our business development team, which do the same kind of job with the NRENs. So we try to communicate with the best fit person on a case-by-case basis. We use coordination, so we try to put together the intelligence to try to help the exchange of information among the interested parties. And we try to make consultancy. That could come in form of product selection, of solution advisory, and again, in this case, with the support of the Giant team of product management, CTO, and operations. So let's see the first use case, which is the Bell 2 experiment. The Bell 2 experiment is a high energy physics experiment based on a circular collider of electron and anti-electrons based in Japan, in Tsukuba. The research is about flavor physics, in this case of B physics, which is common to the LHCb experiment at CERN, and it deals with matter and antimatter investigation. They foresee a volume of 50 petabytes of data per year when they will reach the full luminosity, which is the term for the collider. That means the full power capacity. Their computing model is pretty similar to what we already know from the WSCG, which is the LHC computing grid. So it's a tiered structure where we have the so-called tier 0 in Japan and a mirror site in the US. They have the tier 1s mainly in Europe, and they have the tier 2s around the world where they do users analysis. Actually, what we've done for them is to help them in the first stage to deploy a network monitoring infrastructure based on Perf-Sonar. So we put them in contact with the task force within Giant that was in charge of the Perf-Sonar support, and we managed to let them install measurement points in every tier 0 and tier 1 site to have a central measurement archive at PNNL, which is the site in the US, the mirror site for the Japanese site, and to build a customized network weather map, which is still in development stage. The second activity was the participation to the HANA 100G testbed. Basically, this was a user activity that we try to we try to set up along with Indiana University when the HANA 100G was first established 2 years ago. and to let users be aware and make some use case about using very high capacity transatlantic link, which in that case was the first 100 gigabit link over the transatlantic in the RNE community. So they participated with, to this testbed, performing a data challenge, which is basically moving, the simulation of moving 1 day of raw data from the US sites to the sites in Europe, which was roughly 25 terabytes. There were a number of NRANs involved, ESNet in the US, the Géant backbone, DFN, GAR, and also 2 internet exchange points, which are not mentioned here, and 4 different sites, 1 in the US, 2 in Italy, and 1 in Germany. The last point was actually to foster and facilitate the inclusion of the BEL2 activity within LHC1. And we managed to achieve this result some month ago, basically at the beginning of 2015. So now LHC1 is basically extended to all high energy physics, let's say computing activities, which is basically rely on the same user groups with some exception, but now we have also the Pierre Auger Observatory, which is very recently joined the LHC1 network. Very rapidly, this is the testbed topology infrastructure that we set up, that we helped and coordinated the setup for the testbed, the HANA 100 gig testbed. And basically, you see that we start from the site in PNNL. Basically, all the sites had to agree on a common VLAN ID. This is the part within the US up to the transatlantic link over HANA 100 gig. And this is the European side. So we had to set up a new virtual and routing facility over Géant. We helped the GAR to develop their own, and because they had to connect 2 sites. And since in Germany there was just 1 site, we managed to deliver a VLAN from the site, which was the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, all the way to our VRF. The test was performed during April 2014, and actually it was very helpful. We have received very good feedback from the users because it helped them to find out and resolve some last mile routing problems that they were not aware before. And so this proved a very, very important action for the support of the end users. Now we have the second use case, so let me leave the stage to my colleague Maria Minarikova, which was project management and key account manager for EUMETSAT.
Hello, everybody. So this is another good use case to show how we bring the communities together using the one-stop shop concept that Enzo has described. So EUMETSAT, who's EUMETSAT? Everybody probably knows ESA, the European Space Agency. ESA sends the satellites up to space, and EUMETSAT is the organization that operates them. They keep them on their trajectory, they make sure that they operate well, and they collect and distribute the data to their end users. It is a European-wide non-profit organization. They're not a research organization, they distribute operational data. They operate 24/7, 365 days a year, and this data is supplied to the National Meteorological Services organizations in their cooperating and member states in Europe, but also to other users worldwide in the States, in Korea, Africa. This kind of data is the data that, for example, the airports use to monitor the weather. So it's really an important data, and it is operational. A little bit about history of our cooperation. So we've been exploring ways to cooperate with EUMETSAT for a few years now, since 2009. The primary way of dissemination of their data, the EUMETcast, is using satellite systems. They have approached us to explore ways to disseminate data using the terrestrial networks of Géant and our NRANs, so the whole community. Together, we ran a feasibility study and a prototype to disseminate the UMATcast to 5 European countries and Korea. And this was successful. And last year, UMATs had approached us and asked us to do a little bit more. So what we have done is we set up a project with them to distribute the UMATcast data to using IP multicast from UMATSAT headquarters in Germany to 31 countries in Europe using GÉANT and the NREN networks. So we were using the whole community. GÉANT, the business development, me personally, we were acting as the single point of contact for the customer, so we were doing the project management, and we were connecting the user with the whole community. Because there was the absence of formal SLAs, we proposed the implementation of added value services to support an operational-like data provision. So we provided monitoring, reporting, and escalation process. What was our service portfolio? So it included feasibility analysis in respect to connecting individual endpoints. As I mentioned before, we were the single point of contact and activity coordinator, so we were speaking and coordinating with the whole community about the customer requirements and providing feedback back and forth. We provided technical service support and agreed on the escalation processes between us and the community, the NRENs and the customer. We also developed a web-based near real-time monitoring of UMATcast terrestrial multicast, and this is now running in the GÉANT Operations Center. So here is our near real-time monitoring. So it's a portal, it's developed in-house. It provides a quick overall picture of the services with the clear identification of the colors. We have an escalation procedures in place based on the monitoring of the critical section. So we monitor the announcement channel, and when it goes down, this creates an alarm and it triggers attention of the GÉANT Operations Center, and then we communicate with DFN and with our other NREN partners as needed. And we also have a multicast beacon matrix that gives a quick overview of the situation of multicast distribution in Europe. And as you can see on this map, the UMATcast terrestrial footprint is truly connecting communities worldwide. The emphasis is really at the moment on the accessibility mainly within Europe and to all UMATSAT member states. As I mentioned before, this project covers 31 countries. Currently, 8 sites in Europe are registered with the multicast stream and receive the data in near real time. We also have an outreach to Asia, to a site called KMA via our Asian partners. We have an outreach to the States, to a site in Colorado, to NOAA. And we're working with Internet2 to make that happen. And soon we're also looking to work on distribution of the data to Africa. So that is planned for the second half of 2015. So I really believe this is really connecting communities and on a global scale. So what have we learned so far? The feedback from our customers that we have so far received and from the community was good. The experience is really good and it's rewarding. It makes us feel good. We help the customers, we help the NRENs. That's why we're here. Still, most of the job is based on the goodwill of the partners. Among the GÉANT partners, this remains on the best approach type of service, so there are no formal SLAs. We just need to really communicate very well. And we need to investigate more structured agreements with our non-European partners. And this could allow to extend the coordination function outside of Europe. And so that would be something that we'd be looking at doing next. So this is the feedback of our customers and their requirements, and we will continue working with them. And we'll continue working with you, all of you, to stay better connected and to serve our customers and users' needs. And if you have any questions, that's our contact.
Thank you very much. Indeed, if anybody has any questions, we've got plenty of time.
Covered it all.
You must have covered it all. No, you don't get away that easily.
So Brian Nisbet from HEAnet. I'm not sure which one of the two of you this is for. I suppose just looking at what was being talked about from SurfNet's point of view and looked at what you're talking about from the one-stop shop point of view, over time, how far does that scale? How far do you see, kind of Géant getting involved in, if campuses are outsourcing their services to more services to the NREN, and then Géant is doing coordination work and providing services then to the NRENs, do you kind of have any notion of how far that might go into the future from the point of view of Géant taking services on?
I think it's up to us to really agree on that. So it's, I think the end goal is to serve the users, right? And the user is in Germany, but it's a global user. For example, EUMATSAT is a Europe-wide user, if anything else. And they've expressed really their interest in speaking to one person instead of speaking to 30 countries, having 30 contracts, 30 different SLAs. They want to just come to us, and they expect us to work with all of our NREN partners. This is exactly what they do. That's the same model as they have. So they have users in every country, and their member states, and they communicate their needs, their requirements, their expectations to EUMATSAT in Germany. They aggregate that, and so they expect us to kind of match that model so they can work sort of on an one-on-one basis with us, but to really serve all of their users. And how far we will go with that, I think it really depends on us, because right now they would like to be a bit more formal in terms of SLA. So every NREN has a different, different environment, and we explain that, and so that's why we work in as best approach. But they would like to see it to go further.
Further questions? I have one, so if you're not going to stop me. What interests me is the interaction between, on the one hand, noticing that the groups we tend to support, you guys, we're the same in that respect. The groups that we tend to support are the ones that are big enough that they can articulate their needs. LHC, Bell, groups like the EUMATSAT. The same would have gone for ESA if we had retained them. There is an enormous dark pool of unknown unknowns who do not articulate their needs, and I wonder, we stroke people who sort of ask for stroking, for lack of a better metaphor. And to some degree, whether that engenders the wrong cultural patterns with them, ought we to do that all the time? Because it's easy to get rewards and results out of that, and so therefore it's sort of reassuring for us, all of us, I guess, to keep doing that cultural pattern. There is a large cultural divide between the people that we deal with and the people we don't deal with yet. Looking at a number of recent reports, that seems to be growing, and growing in a way that even those people don't know. Do you engage with those people? Do you have plans to do that? Will it scale at all? I know, another curveball, but...
There are some priorities that we've discussed and agreed with our user community, so that's been communicated to us, agreed with our board. So we look at the physicists, the life sciences. So we select the largest user groups, and we work with them directly. But when we work with them, we always involve the NRENs in the individual countries. Yeah,
no, it's not so much the NRENs necessarily. It's further groups within science that are getting globalized as well. Life sciences, for instance, a brilliant one.
Yeah,
exactly. But sort of, genomicists tend to not even know that they have massive data sets. I've had a genomicist ring me once, going like, I can't put the 1 terabyte file on my thumb drive.
So that's a, yeah, that's
How
a,
do you fix that?
But for example, the genomics is exactly, it's a good example. So Elixir is this large project. They're in 17 countries, I think about 150 nodes in different countries, and so they aggregate those requests and the demands and the different technical aspects of their work. Again, into one single place, and that single place communicates with us. And then we, within Jean, we have AAI group that works with them. We have us as a user support group. And what I was trying to say is when we go to an individual country to try to solve those problems, we don't go as Jean, we go with an NREN. So we go with the, Janet in the UK to a site in, I don't know where they are, in Cambridge or somewhere in London. When we go to speak to a German Elixir node, we take DFN, so we always go with the local NREN because they're responsible for that last mile or for their connectivity up to the Jean point. Okay. So that's how it works.
So you're more like a one-stop brokerage than a one-stop shop in a way.
Both.
I mean, I'm not trying to sort of weigh
No,
words
both,
here, but
both.
yeah.
It depends really how far, what the customers really want and what we can offer them.
And truth is that currently we work mainly on a bespoke way of working. We have a quite bespoke.
Bespoke?
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, yes. Sorry. Chair's fault.
Because basically we have what emerged, it changed over time. Every community has its own peculiarities and special needs. Every NREN we deal with has its own special way of dealing with the user and connecting with us. So there is it's not possible to structure something.
Bespoke is the positive way of saying it. Ad hoc is the negative way of saying it. I would get it, yes.
Tailored, if you prefer.
Very good, thank you. Tailored indeed. Further questions? Yes, Jan.
Well, maybe more a comment. That somehow I think that we should be better at selling the service. That Xiang should be better at selling the service. That Nordonet, in my case, should be better. That I, as an NREN, should be better at selling the service, because the researchers and the universities meet a lot of salesmen from any other network organization who wants to tell them that they can deliver this thing and that thing. And they don't know that they can actually have it in what they already pay for with us, with Nordonet, and with Xiang. So we should be much better at telling everybody, and that's why I call it selling.
We should be more proactive, yes.
Yeah. I would like to quote the great Niels Bohr in saying that's not a question, that's an answer.
Sorry.
But certainly, yes.
It's a good comment, yeah, absolutely.
Anybody disagree with that? Definitely shouldn't be selling it any better. Not use the word sell. Any further questions? I'd like to thank this set of speakers again and thank all of the speakers for today's session. Won't keep you extremely much longer, but there's a few announcements I'd like to make. Gala tickets are still available for the gala dinner tomorrow night. There's posters downstairs which are actually quite worthwhile. Sometimes they aren't, I must admit, but this time they really are. There's a few good ideas that I've already gathered from them. And please fill out your feedback forms, particularly when the sessions have been this good, right? Just ham it up, tell these people, let them know. We do read those reports. Speakers get to see those reports, particularly if it's constructive feedback. And from that point on, I guess I should allow you to go to the afternoon tea. And probably more of these sessions. And look at this, everybody's just sticking around. Fantastic. I guess I am. Questions for the chair? And where do you get one of those National Sarcasm Society shirts?
Buy them online.
Was that a sarcastic remark?
No, it's true.
Oh, that's a pity. I was sort of hoping for a sarcastic remark. How's that? Excellent. Well, I'm trying to get you out.